You know, when you start getting deer that you can build history with, you know, multiple years of encounters, trail camera videos, and then you actually get a chance at one when they reach that maturity, there's nothing better than that. The story of Skyscraper really goes back 3 seasons. It was the Whitetails From Scratch property, actually. It was the first year we purchased a portion of this property, got it late in the season. It was deer season, actually Halloween, and we just put out a bunch of trail cameras. And you know, that year we were just trying to see what kind of deer were in the area, you know, the age structure. And one of the bucks that really stood out at that time was this narrow, tight, really tall buck that we called Skyscraper. And really just looking at some of these videos, you know, seeing Skyscraper next to other bucks is really what kind of gives us the gauge of how old this deer could be. I know we got a couple videos. He's sparring with another for sure 2-year-old deer with a basket 8-point rack. And you know, Skyscraper's rack is, you know, substantially larger, but his body wasn't that much bigger. So, you know, it really kept us thinking, you know, he's 2.5, 3.5, what is he? And it wasn't really until we picked up those sheds in 2019 in the spring that we saw the mass, and I didn't even know what deer it was at first because it was so much bigger. These antlers were so much larger than, you know, what I thought they were based on trail camera video. So, I mean, I looked at the bases, you look at those antlers, and you know, you start to paint the picture. He's got to be 3.5 in the 2018 season. So in 2019, Skyscraper really didn't grow much antler-wise. He didn't really gain much there. His body was obviously bigger. He's more mature. He's fighting more. He broke off a tine. So, you know, he's more involved in the overall herd mentality and breeding and whatnot, but he wasn't a deer that we were ready to take quite yet. We wanted to see him, you know, hit another year or two, see what he'd become. And it was just a matter of watching him that year and just trying to learn his patterns, his behaviors, and see if we could pick up a couple things that would help us in the future. So 2019 was really a cool year because it was a year we closed on another piece of property that joined in with the Cedar Springs. So it was the Oak Roost and Cedar Springs. And you know, start running trail cameras and scouting both areas, it was evident that Skyscraper really took to Cedar Springs. There were certain areas with some of the hinge cuts, you know, down through the draw. It just seemed like, you know, that was his core area. Skyscraper really took hold to Cedar Springs, and pretty much we formed a pattern with him in this area. Skyscraper really wasn't an early season buck. He was a buck that came in during the rut and stuck around late season. And he actually shed that following spring on the bordering neighbor's property, and that neighbor found both sides. You know, he's sticking close by, 4-year-old buck. Next year's gonna be exciting. You know, he's gonna turn 5.5. We'll see if that antler growth can jump back up. He's stunted quite a bit at 4. See if he can jump at 5, and we'll see what he looks like. Some of the improvements we made on this property, you know, you can watch Whitetails From Scratch and kind of get the backstory of all the habitat side. We brought Andy Orr and the AWS team up, put out a big plan on this property, and hinge cutting was a key fundamental piece to that. And then food plots, you know, we're putting in food plots this season, and heading into 2020, Skyscraper's now a 5-year-old buck. He's really the most mature buck in the area, or at least one of 2. And you know, these improvements really brought him in, and the daytime exposure to trail cameras and to sightings that we had of him were substantially higher that year in 2020. And when he showed up that year in October, he made a pretty big jump. Partially lucky for him, I was actually already tagged out at that point in Minnesota, but Mike and Chris still had tags, and we were talking about Skyscraper, you know, a really nice buck, 5 years old, you know, that's a mature buck. We also thought, this is a property we've owned, we've never owned a property. Should we let this deer get to 6? Because, you know, we know he's gonna make another jump. We know that there's a pretty good chance somebody else could shoot him, but, you know, if we shoot him, there's 100% chance he doesn't make that jump. So, you know, we were kind of back and forth on, you know, is he at the level we want to shoot him or not? And we decided, you know, at the end of the day, let's give him a pass, see what he can become as a 6-year-old. That spring, when the neighbor found a couple of his sheds, we all got together and looked at the 3-year-old set, the 4-year-old and the 5-year-old set. I mean, 3 and 4 were fairly close. 5 was just a whole nother level. It surprised all of us how much bigger he was as a 5-year-old. So heading into the 2021 season, Skyscraper is right at the top of that list. He's a 6.5-year-old buck, and basically we spent the entire spring, summer, early fall making changes to the property and hanging stands and coming up with strategies specifically for this deer. And just as we expected, Skyscraper was not around early season in Velvet, so it's always a question of what did he turn into? Is he still alive? What are all these variables? Is Skyscraper going to show back up? And finally, early October, Skyscraper shows back up. It's kind of like what we thought he would look like. The exact same frame, really tall, just big long tines, but narrow again, only probably 14 inches wide. And still a lot of mass, but until we got a good look in daytime, it's hard to know what Skyscraper is, but he does look like he's bigger this year, and at 6.5, game's on. And things are going as planned. Skyscraper's starting to hit some of our primary scrapes. It's all nocturnal stuff. He's moving at night, so it's not quite time to make a move yet, but waiting for those weather elements, the moon, the rut to really kick in to make a move on Skyscraper. We got the stands preset, trails going to the stands, everything's all set up, and Skyscraper vanished. No trail camera pictures, nobody's seeing him. We don't know what happened to him. Did he get shot? Did he get hit by a car? Skyscraper's been gone now for almost 2 weeks. I decided let's pick a good day when we got some nice wind and rain coming through, and I'm gonna switch some batteries, pull some SD cards out of these reveals and just kind of see, what's going on, see if I can see any information on the ground, give me some clues about what Skyscraper's doing. And it wasn't until I got back and started really scrolling through all these videos to where there were some clips in there that I was able to pull, and Skyscraper showed up actually on the 17th, and he was limping pretty bad. So, just threw way more doubt into the scenario. Skyscraper, now he's limping on camera. Heading into our hinge cuts, we got standing corn all over the place. Farmers have not harvested, and we're just wondering, is Skyscraper still alive? Is that a wound from an arrow? What's going on with this injury on him? Maybe he got in a fight with a buck. He's MIA, so we're just hoping Skyscraper's not dead. It's kind of a real depressing moment during the season where, weeks are going by and our target buck's gone and like nothing else to really chase right now, hunt out on the property. So, just sitting back, not hunting a whole lot, trying to strategize, like, should we go hunt somewhere else? Should we go, what should we do right now? Because Skyscraper, he's gone. And throughout that time, just pretty depressed, waiting all year to hunt this buck, and once you know it, early November comes along, Skyscraper shows back up. And when Skyscraper showed back up, he actually looked pretty healthy. He didn't look hurt, he wasn't limping real bad, didn't see the blood on him anymore. So, he must have taken those last few weeks to really heal up, to get ready for the rut, and we're back on track. And as the peak rut really starts to taper down, Skyscraper begins to show back up by himself. So he's off a doe, he's looking for the next hot doe. This is a time of the year where calling and rattling can be phenomenal. Now, on the other hand, in Minnesota, we have heavy gun pressure right now. Our gun seasons, we're already going from the first gun season into the second gun season. So we're trying to stay low key right now so deer funnel back in, and we're just hoping Skyscraper again late season, comes into the property and stays. But as part of the strategy of bow hunting during the gun season, we're still having to wear the blaze orange, but we want to keep it really, really low key because there's a lot of pressure around us. And a lot of different areas that were once sanctuaries are now no longer. So these deer are moving into our property. We want to keep ours sanctuary. So it's November 20th and it's time to make a move. Skyscraper has been in the area in the past couple days. We know he's using this area heavy and he's probably looking for a new hot doe. So he's going to be bouncing around. And some of the weather conditions that actually played into this day. In the morning we had a south wind. In the evening it was going to be a north wind. So it was going to be a big wind switch throughout the day. So a lot of times that gets bucks up off their feet, moving. The wind's not at their back. They got to switch to a new bedding area. So knowing this, it was a perfect day to hunt one location on the property in the morning, and then in the evening I was going to switch to a north wind, and that was really the time that I thought This could be the kill window, this evening hunt with the north wind. I really love the location that I'm going to, and I know it's an area that Skyscraper, he frequents. Again, scent control is good. Wind in my favor. I knew that evening hunt was going to be a potential really good opportunity to shoot Skyscraper. What's the best strategy for this? I feel like calling is probably going to be my best strategy, and being that we're in the gun season, it's going to be a low-key calling strategy. So I grab my extinguisher, there's probably only 30-40 minutes left of light, and I just start painting out a picture, post-rut, what's he going to look for? Doe and estrus bleeds. And actually slide the extinguisher up toward the fawn setting, that higher pitch doe, to try to paint the picture. Even late season, those last hot does, it might be a fawn, it might be a year-old doe. So painting that picture of a doe and estrus, and then change the extinguisher to a young buck setting, and then just some young buck contact grunts, kind of like a buck chasing a doe. Now it's not even 2-3 minutes after I start calling, I hear rustling. And once you know it, I look up, Skyscraper, he's on the way. And he's closing in, he's tight. It gets a little chaotic here. So I'm trying to run the cameras, and next thing you know, he walks behind a cedar. I can't tell which trail he's gonna exit or enter. So I just point the camera in one direction and I get ready for a potential shot.
Shot the buck we were after all year. Whitetails from scratch, baby. Yeah. Oh my God. We bought this property 3 years ago. We've put so much work into this property. Yes. I can't freaking believe it, dude. I called him right in.
All that time we put in, we've never harvested a buck off our property. This is the buck we were targeting, the number one, 6.5-year-old deer, Skyscraper, and I know he's just over the hill. He's right there.
Oh my God.
There's Skyscraper. We got him.
Oh.
Why don't you go put your hands on him first?
Are you kidding me? Look at that guy. Body's huge.
He is huge. Oh my gosh.
Wow, kickers out of the base. Look at the size of the base, it's all gnarly.
That's what it's all about. And it didn't matter if I shot him or you shot him. I mean, this was a group family effort. 6.5-year-old buck on our property. First buck.
It's a relationship with this deer. It's a relationship with the land. It's a relationship with the family. And to hit your goal like that, our goal is to get these big 5 to 8-year-old deer. He's 6. He's everything you could ever thought he was going to be, isn't he?
Yeah, that's pretty impressive. We got Skyscraper. Whitetails from scratch. Finally paying off. Where Skyscraper actually ran and expired is the exact spot that I found his 3.5-year-old set of sheds. So it just goes kind of full circle there. One of the big keys to success in shooting Skyscraper was really just building that foundation, that history, that knowledge base, understanding how he uses the property and the way we're, transforming it or improving it to make him feel even more comfortable. And another key to this hunt is the low-key strategy. That comes to a visual, an in and out access, not letting deer see you go in and out, as well as the scent. When you're not there, your scent can be left behind, or when you are there, you can't let deer smell you. Using that face system to remove all of our human odor really plays into not letting deer know that we're hunting this area. So it becomes a sanctuary year-round, whereas we know during the gun season or during the hunting season, other properties, their sanctuaries, I would say, dwindle or are removed because of their high-pressure hunting strategies. We capitalize on that by removing all of our human odor in our core areas. And lastly, a huge key to success here is calling. And not really only calling, but the communication part. Using the extinguisher, being extremely low-key, natural with the calling, knowing that I'm in an area where deer are extremely close, and painting that picture to where they think it's real. That communication was really just the nail in the coffin on this 3-year journey hunting a 6.5-year-old buck we call Skyscraper.